Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. Great article here from Light Reading. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. So, big day for Verizon. Frontier shareholders green light Verizon acquisition. So, all they needed, all the Verizon really needed was for a majority vote of a yes from Frontier shareholders. So, if there was even 10 or 20% that were against the deal, all they needed was a majority vote for yes, and that's what they got. 63% of Frontier shareholders voted for the Verizon proposed acquisition they gave it a yes. So big deal for Verizon now. They can move forward with their convergence strategy, and this deal is expected to close in the first quarter of 2026. So we're still roughly a year away. So it still has to go through the regulatory approval process and all that good stuff. But it's expected to close in the first quarter of 2026, unless there's opposition, which I don't expect there to be any opposition moving forward. Maybe some concessions here and there, but I don't expect there to be any huge opposition from the regulatory bodies. So big deal, right? So this is good for the industry. I know AT&T is probably a little upset about this because they've been in the fiber space majority. They've been the heavily invested in expanding fiber and growing their fiber footprint, like at scale. They've been the deepest invested in that. We saw Google Fiber try it. They kind of backed out. Now they're kind of deploying it bit by bit. They really didn't go full scale. Nobody else really went full scale with their fiber deployment. They're doing it little by little. We got JV players, but nobody's really attacked it like what AT&T has done over the last several years. But now, with one chess move, Verizon is going to gain some serious fiber scale outside of their already existing Fios footprint, which is mostly on the East Coast. And then if you want to consider fiber miles, if you look at, One Fiber, which is fiber to the cell only today, Verizon does have a large fiber footprint, but fiber to the premise, that's where AT&T had the larger footprint for quite some time until now. So with its investment, AT&T, and their push and their whole initiative, they want to get to markets first, and they want to be the only fiber competitor in those markets that they're investing in. They don't want any competition, because if you have competition, that lowers your chances of return on investment, right? ROI, because now you have multiple players to choose from in the same household. So that's something that AT&T is trying to avoid. But now with Frontier having a little over 50% of their footprint converted to fiber, and that gives Verizon the opportunity to convert the other 50%, if they choose to, also from copper to fiber. It's a possibility. Will they do all of that? Remains to be seen. But that is, they're knocking on AT&T's door here. So, and this is also, right, optionality, possibility of growing to other areas that are close by. Right, you look at Frontier's footprint. If you look at a map, there are other counties and possible cities that Verizon could expand into now and piggyback off of what Frontier already has deployed. It's all a possibility, and that's stuff that AT&T has to take into consideration as they further analyze and strategize their strategy. They were already a little ticked off with T-Mobile and these JV deals, and I was made aware that some of those areas that T-Mobile is moving in now that they beat AT&T to, AT&T wanted to get into those areas first, but T-Mobile beat them to it. So they really don't want another competitor as it pertains to fiber. Cable, FWA, they're fine with that, but they don't want other fiber competition. For example, my market, El Paso, Texas, AT&T to this day is the only grand scale fiber provider across the city. There are some here and there that do fiber, but it's mostly AT&T that does fiber to the premise. And no one else has really stepped it up. Spectrum Charter is still deploying DOCSIS. They're still deploying coax. They do some fiber, but it's like I said, it's very, very small footprint. So the only one that's going into the new development areas, new development neighborhoods, strip malls with fiber, it's AT&T. No other competitor today that's really challenging AT&T in this market with that type of build. So it was about time, right? From that sense, from that perspective, screw AT&T. Bring the competition. It'll help keep prices lower, keep the carriers honest, and it might bring about better technology, even better fiber. Fiber's already good, but maybe even a better connection, right? There might be some newer fiber technology that AT&T hasn't implemented that Verizon will now implement through Frontier's footprint. It's possible. It's a strong possibility, and that's what competition brings about. It brings the best out of you. And, you know, it might, if somebody, right, if somebody moves into El Paso and they start really getting into the market aggressively, competing, scaling, investing, that might push AT&T to invest even more, to scale even more. So that's why competition is needed. AT&T, I mean, even T-Mobile said the same. The areas that they want to partner in with JV players, they want to be the only fiber provider. I don't really agree with that. It's good for their business, but we need competition. We need other players to move in and keep them honest, right? It brings everything across the board. It brings better customer service, honesty, better pricing, maybe perks, right? It brings innovation, and it just brings competitive nature, and we really need it. So I'm glad this went through. I'm glad the majority vote was for a yes, a resounding yes. And now we just have to wait, right? So I fully expect, to close out the video, I fully expect AT&T to now ramp up quicker. I fully expect them to do that in the fiber space. We recently saw the new deal with Corning for more fiber spool. So I fully anticipate AT&T to ramp fiber and scale that even quicker where they can. They're going to look at their opportunities. And if they can get to the neighborhoods first, in 25, they're going to do that so they can soak up the opportunity before anyone else threatens them with competition. So from that aspect, that perspective, this is a really good deal. Glad that's over with. The shareholders voted. It's a yes. Now we just wait for the regulatory approval. It's going to be another year and almost 2 months. We still have to get through November, December, and then all of 25. And then the first quarter is another 3 months. So it's still possibly 16 to 18 months away, roughly. And, you know, 2025 is going to fly by, but a lot can change over this next year. So I'm not saying that Verizon's going to back out all of a sudden or change their mind, but there could be some other deals that can change the landscape in the meantime. So we'll see. A year or 16 to 18 months is a long time. So we'll see how this plays out. Stay tuned for more. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets as a Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.